1. The Kick 6 Iron Bowl 2013. If you watched this game live, you probably remember exactly where you were, because this moment did not look real when it happened. The play took place on November 30th, 2013, during the Iron Bowl rivalry game between the Auburn Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama. The stadium was completely full, loud, and tense because the game meant everything. Alabama came in as the #1 ranked team in the country and was expected to move forward to the BCS National Championship with a win. Auburn, ranked #4, wanted to ruin their rival's dream and continue their own championship journey. Late in the fourth quarter, the game was tied 28-28. Alabama star running back TJ Yeldon caught a pass and stepped out of bounds as time appeared to run out, but Alabama head coach Nick Saban argued that 1 second should remain on the clock. After video review, officials agreed and put 1 second back. Alabama then lined up for a very long 57-yard field goal attempt, which would win the game if it went through. At that moment, Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn made a clever and risky coaching decision. He placed Chris Davis, a defensive back and kick returner, deep in the end zone in case the kick was too short. When Alabama attempted the field goal, the ball fell short exactly as Auburn predicted, and Chris Davis caught it while standing at the very back of the end zone. Then came one of the greatest plays in college football history. Davis started sprinting up the left sideline. Auburn's blockers formed a perfect shield, pushing Alabama players away. Most of Alabama's players on the field were large offensive linemen and tight ends, not fast coverage players, so Davis kept gaining ground with his speed. The entire stadium realized what was happening at the same time, and the roaring noise grew louder with every step. Davis stayed in bounds, never slowed down, and ran the full length of the field, 109 yards for a touchdown as the clock hit 0. Auburn won 34-28 and Jordan-Hare Stadium erupted in celebration. This moment is iconic because it happened in one of the biggest rivalries in sports. It destroyed Alabama's national title hopes. It sent Auburn to the SEC championship and then to the BCS National Championship game, and it remains one of the most unbelievable finishes ever witnessed. Many fans still call it one of the greatest plays in college football history, and it is remembered simply as the Kick 6. 2. Vince Young's heroics. 2006 Rose Bowl. The 2006 Rose Bowl, played on January 4th, 2006 at the Rose Bowl Stadium in Pasadena, California, is remembered by many as the greatest college football game ever played. It was the BCS National Championship game between the Texas Longhorns and the University of Southern California Trojans, USC, two powerhouse programs filled with talent, confidence, and huge expectations. USC entered the game as the most dominant team in college football at the time, riding a long winning streak and chasing their third straight national title. Their roster was loaded with stars, including Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, and Lendale White, and many believed they simply could not be beaten. On the other side was Texas, led by quarterback Vince Young, a calm, fearless, and electric player known for taking complete control of big moments. Throughout the game, both teams showed elite skill, trading touchdowns back and forth in what felt like a heavyweight boxing match. Late in the fourth quarter, USC took a 38-33 lead, and the pressure shifted entirely to Texas. With the national championship on the line, Texas needed one final drive, and every eye in the stadium turned to Vince Young. With 26 seconds remaining, Texas faced a 4th and 5 from the USC 9-yard line. One failed play would hand USC the championship. Vince Young took the snap, scanned the field, and saw nothing open. Without panic, he tucked the ball under his arm, sprinted to the right, and saw a small opening near the front corner of the end zone. He turned on his speed, reached the pylon untouched, and scored the go-ahead touchdown. The stadium erupted as Texas took the lead 39-38, and after a successful 2-point conversion, held on to win 41-38. When the clock hit 0, Texas stood alone as national champions, and Vince Young became a college football legend. His performance, including 467 total yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, is still viewed as one of the most clutch and dominant efforts in college football history. In Austin, Texas, he will forever be remembered as the man who carried the Longhorns to the greatest victory in their history, and many fans still believe it was the greatest play in college football ever made. 3. The band is on the field. 1982 Cal versus Stanford. One of the craziest and most unforgettable endings in college football history took place on November 20th, 1982. 1982 during the famous rivalry known as the Big Game between the University of California, Berkeley, Cal, and Stanford University. The matchup was played at California Memorial Stadium in Berkeley, California, and Stanford was led by quarterback John Elway, who would later become a legendary NFL Hall of Fame player. With only seconds left on the clock, Stanford kicked a field goal and took a 20-19 lead. All they needed to do was kick the ball off and stop Cal's return to win the game. But what happened next became pure sports chaos. On the kickoff, Cal began to run the ball back, refusing to go down. They lateraled the ball 5 times, trying to keep the play alive from one desperate player to the next. To make things even more shocking, members of the Stanford marching band mistakenly believed the game was already over. They rushed onto the field with their instruments, covering part of the end zone, not realizing that the play was still active. Cal running back Dwight Garner appeared very close to being down before one of the laterals, and many still argue about whether his knee actually touched the ground. Moments later, on the final lateral, Marriott Ford tossed the ball to Kevin Moen, and some people believe it might have been an illegal forward pass, but the referees allowed the play to continue. Moen caught the ball, ran through confused players, band members, and cheerleaders, and crossed the goal line. As he scored, he crashed straight into a Stanford trombone player, creating one of the most unbelievable images in sports history. Cal won the game 25-20, and legendary announcer Joe Starkey delivered the most famous call ever heard in college football. "Oh, the band is out on the field! The band is on the field!" To this day, people still debate whether the play should have counted, but almost everyone agrees on one thing: no finish has ever been wilder, more chaotic, or more iconic than the play. 4. Boise State's trick play magic. 2007 Fiesta Bowl, Boise State versus Oklahoma. The 2007 Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, played on January 1st, 2007 at University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, became one of the most unbelievable underdog stories in college football history. The matchup was between the Boise State Broncos and the Oklahoma Sooners, a traditional powerhouse with a long history of championships, star players, and national respect. Boise State was seen as the big underdog from a smaller conference, but they came into the game determined, fearless, and ready to prove that they belonged on the biggest stage in the sport. The drama began long before the famous game-winning play. Late in regulation, Boise State trailed 35-28. With 18 seconds left, they faced a desperate 4th and 18 from midfield. Quarterback Jared Zabransky threw a pass to Drisson James, who caught it, then immediately pitched the ball backwards to teammate Jared Rabb in a perfectly executed hook and lateral. Rabb sprinted all the way to the end zone, stunning Oklahoma and tying the game in the final seconds. In overtime, Oklahoma scored first, taking a 42-35 lead. Boise State responded with a touchdown from Derek Skuman, making it 42-41. Everyone expected Boise State to kick the extra point and head into a second overtime, but head coach Chris Peterson made a bold and unforgettable decision. He went for 2 and for the win. Boise State lined up, and Jared Zabransky faked a quick pass to his right, freezing the defense. At the same moment, with his left hand hidden behind his back, he handed the ball to Ian Johnson in the classic Statue of Liberty play. Johnson ran untouched into the end zone, completing one of the most daring and perfectly executed finishes in college football history and giving Boise State a 43-42 victory. Then came one final unforgettable moment. During the postgame celebration, Ian Johnson dropped to one knee and proposed to his cheerleader girlfriend live on national television, the perfect fairy tale ending to one of the greatest games ever played. 5. Appalachian State upsets Michigan 2007. In 2007, the University of Michigan, ranked number 5 in the country, opened their season at home against Appalachian State. Michigan expected an easy win. Appalachian State was from the football championship subdivision, which was considered a lower level of competition. But Appalachian State shocked everyone from the very beginning. They played fast, confident, and fearless, scoring quickly and keeping up with Michigan's powerful offense. The game stayed close all the way into the fourth quarter, which confused and worried Michigan fans. Late in the game, Appalachian State took the lead 34-32. Michigan drove down the field and had a chance to win with a field goal. As the Michigan kicker tried the game-winning kick, Appalachian State blocked it. Their players ran in celebration as the huge crowd in Ann Arbor stood in disbelief. Appalachian Appalachian State won the game, creating one of the biggest upsets in college football history. This moment is iconic because it changed the way people saw smaller schools. It proved that anything can happen in college football, no matter the rankings, the size of the stadium, or the expectations. 6. The Immaculate Deflection, Auburn versus Georgia, 2013. The Immaculate Deflection happened in November 2013 during a game between Auburn University and the University of Georgia. Auburn was having a magical season filled with dramatic wins, but this moment was one of the most unbelievable plays in college football history. Late in the game, Auburn was losing 38-37. They faced a 4th and 18 situation with less than a minute left. If they failed to get the first down, Georgia would win. Auburn quarterback Nick Marshall took the snap and dropped back to pass. He threw a deep ball down the middle of the field toward wide receiver Ricardo Lewis. Two Georgia defenders were in perfect position to intercept the pass. For a moment, it looked like the game was over, but then something incredible happened. The ball hit one Georgia defender's hands, bounced off his helmet, and popped back into the air. Ricardo Lewis kept running, never giving up on the play. The ball suddenly floated right into his arms. He caught it in stride and ran the rest of the way for a touchdown. Auburn won 43-38. 7. Tua Tagovailoa saves Alabama, 2018 CFP National Championship, Alabama versus Georgia. Everyone remembers how well Jalen Hurts played in getting Alabama to the national championship game. He was the steady, experienced leader who helped carry the Alabama Crimson Tide through the season and into college football's biggest stage. The year before, Hurts and Alabama reached the title game, but fell just short to Clemson, and many fans believed this was the year he would finally finish the job. The 2018 College Football Playoff National Championship was held on January 8, 2018, inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Georgia and Alabama faced the Georgia Bulldogs in an intense all-SEC matchup, but the game did not unfold the way Alabama expected. Georgia controlled most of the first half, taking a strong lead, while Alabama's offense struggled badly and could not move the ball. With the championship slipping away, head coach Nick Saban made one of the most shocking and fearless coaching decisions in college football history. He benched Jalen Hurts at halftime and replaced him with true freshman quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, a player who had never started a game. From the moment Tua stepped on the field, everything changed. He played with confidence, poise, and fearlessness, slowly leading Alabama back into the game. His throws were sharp, his decision-making looked mature beyond his age, and he brought energy to the entire team. Alabama fought back and tied the game, sending it into overtime at 20-20. In overtime, Georgia struck first with a field goal, taking a 23-20 lead. Alabama needed at least 3 points to stay alive. Then, disaster hit on the very first play. Tua took a huge sack, pushing Alabama into a nightmare situation. 2nd and 26. Most players would panic, but Tua kept his calm. On the next snap, Tua dropped back, looked off the safety to freeze the defense, and fired a deep, high, perfect pass down the left sideline to freshman Devonta Smith. Smith caught it in stride and ran straight into the end zone for the 26-23 walk-off championship victory, giving Alabama yet another national title. That single moment became legendary. A freshman came off the bench, saved the season, delivered the winning throw, and wrote one of the greatest endings in championship history. It was the birth of a superstar, the rise of another Alabama legend, and a moment that fans still replay again and again. 8. Marshall's plane crash. On November 14, 1970, one of the darkest moments in sports history happened. The Marshall University football team, coaches, staff members, and supporters were flying home from a game in North Carolina. Tragically, the plane crashed while approaching the airport in West Virginia. All 75 people on board died. It was one of the worst disasters in American sports. The entire Marshall community was heartbroken. The crash wiped out almost the entire football program. Many people believed the team would never play again. The university had to decide whether to end the football program or try to rebuild from nothing. The students and the community fought to keep football alive. They said, "We are Marshall," a phrase that became a symbol of strength and unity. The next season, Marshall hired a new coach, Jack Lengyel, who took on the nearly impossible task of rebuilding a team with walk-ons, freshmen, and athletes from other sports. Even with limited talent, Marshall kept fighting. In 1971, they won an emotional game on the final play of the day, bringing hope back to the school. 9. Tim Tebow's The Promise Speech, 2008. Tim Tebow's The Promise is one of the most famous speeches in college football. In 2008, the University of Florida lost a surprising game to Ole Miss. Florida was expected to be one of the best teams in the country, and the loss shocked fans and players. After the game, quarterback Tim Tebow spoke to the media with deep emotion. Tebow took full responsibility for the loss. He promised that no player in the country would work harder than he would for the rest of the season. He said he would push himself and his teammates to give everything they had in every practice and every game. His words were simple but powerful. You could hear how serious he was. Many fans and players said the speech changed the entire season. Florida responded with intense energy and won every remaining game. They went on to win the 2008 national championship. The speech is iconic because it shows leadership, heart, and accountability. Tebow did not blame anyone else. He stepped up and promised to be better, and then he kept that promise. The speech is still remembered today and is even carved into a plaque outside the Florida football stadium. 10. The Hail Flutie, Doug Flutie's miracle throw versus Miami, 1984. The 1984 showdown between Boston College and the Miami Hurricanes was never supposed to become a moment frozen in college football history, but it did, thanks to what is now simply known as the Hail Flutie. It was late in the season, the national spotlight was bright, and Boston College needed something close to a miracle to stay alive. They trailed 45-41 in the final seconds, and only a touchdown would win it. At quarterback stood Doug Flutie, a talented but undersized leader who many doubted could throw a deep ball into the strong wind swirling inside the stadium. With time running out, Flutie took the snap, looked downfield, and began scrambling backward, drifting almost all the way to his own 37-yard line. Miami defenders chased, believing there was no way he could launch the ball far enough, but with total faith and no other choice, Flutie planted his feet and hurled a high, desperate pass that seemed to float forever. Downfield, wide receiver Gerard Phelan slipped behind the Miami defense, tracked the ball through the night sky, and came down with the catch in the end zone. Boston College won, the crowd erupted, and Doug Flutie became an instant legend. And that is only one chapter from the wild book of college football history. The crazy part? Moments like this keep happening. If you enjoyed reliving this legendary play with me, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and drop your favorite miracle play below.